Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, we loot the next World of Warcraft expansion in the rundown.
Plus, we infiltrate the set of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with a behind-the-scenes look.
He's trying to stop the car.
And then Jose takes a look at Wasteland 2 for the PS4 and Xbox One. Also coming up, Marissa and Scott have a review of the new TV series Unreal. I check out the latest game in the Driver series and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. I just finished a high-level raid and got something legendary. It's called the Rundown. A great burning shadow is falling over Azeroth. Blizzard has officially announced World of Warcraft Legion, the 6th expansion to the trend-setting MMO. It will see the demonic Burning Legion wreak havoc on the land of Azeroth, with players retreating to a new continent, the mythic Broken Isles. Once there, you'll find powerful new weapons and join forces with a new class, the Demon Hunters, to eventually take on the Burning Legion once and for all. The expansion will raise the level cap to 110. No release date for Legion has been announced, but Blizzard says the beta test will take place before the end of the year. If you're waiting for a new Rogue Squadron game, here's the next best thing. EA has revealed the Fighter Squadron mode for Star Wars Battlefront. It focuses entirely on aerial combat, with up to 20 players taking control of the most iconic Rebel and Imperial ships, and then dogfighting just like in the movies. Like the other modes, characters from the films will pop in to save the day. Star Wars Battlefront drops out of hyperspace on November 17th.
Show no mercy.
Some good things to talk about in the rundown today. Here's my pal, Scott Jones.
I am thinking.
Are you thinking?
These stories, both of these stories have got me thinking. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with World of Warcraft. It's called Legion is the expansion.
Yes.
And this comes on the tail of the news that subscriptions are way down. Lowest they've been since 2005.
I think that's very interesting, because does Warcraft actually have a future going forward? I mean, Blizzard, for sure, fingers crossed, they think that there's going to be a future. They hope that there's going to be a future, but there's so many things now that are pulling gamers away from this game. This game's been around for over a decade, a very long time.
This expansion, I think, is going to draw people back in, raising the level cap. But you're right, we are inundated with choice, more so than was available even in World of Warcraft's launch.
I mean, I felt like maybe 5 years ago, every other sentence of any gamer's dialogue they would have would be about Warcraft, and now I hardly ever hear anyone talk about it. I don't know really what happened. I mean, I'm excited if you're a Warcraft player. There's a reason to go back. The world gets a little bit bigger, it keeps expanding. But I don't know if people are going to still show up.
Well, let's talk about Battlefront. It looks so photoreal that it's weird that all of this dogfighting is happening over a planet, because we never really saw that in the movies. We always went up into space, and there's, as far as we know, no space battles. It's all taking place over the planets that are featured within the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting that there are going to be so many options when you're playing Battlefront. I mean, this is obviously a page from the Battlefield playbook. I mean, everybody can do anything in this game. You can go anywhere. You can have your own Star Wars adventure, which is really all that Star Wars fans have had since the prequels were so damn heartbreaking.
And Battlefront has a lot to live up to, because those pandemic games were absolutely phenomenal, you know? So it's not only like the movie has to be good and Star Wars has to win our hearts back now, but also this game has to be as fun and as fulfilling as those old pandemic
To this day, though, whenever you mention Battlefront, you messed up a little. You messed up. He gets his eyes get a little watery, and he looks off, and we lose him for a little while.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
Just like, Battlefront.
Absolutely. It gets me on a couple accounts. All right, well, it's time to move on. We've got a big movie coming up this week. It's called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Let's go behind the scenes.
I think you should look out the window.
You can't be serious. He's trying to stop the car.
Napoleon Solo comes from, well, his father was an Irish janitor in America. And he went over to the UK and snuck his way into European high society, fell in love with it, and lived in that world for a while. And then he got into the black market, and he was dealing antiques in the black market, and he became very, very good at it. And so good, in fact, that no one could catch him. He sort of took pride in the fact that he was this master of evasion. And the CIA desperately tried to catch him, and eventually was given up by a jealous mistress. And the CIA then jumped in and said, instead of going to jail, how about you work for us? so you're clearly good at what you do. And it wasn't much of a question, it was more of an ultimatum. And so he was forced to do this, and this is how he ends up working for the CIA, very reluctantly. But for him, it's certainly better than being in jail, because it means he can still skim money off the top and wear nice suits and wear nice shoes and ties and stuff.
We recently discovered the existence of an international criminal organization with ties to former Nazis.
We have no choice but to work together to infiltrate this organization.
We'll leave you two to get acquainted.
Ilya Kuryakin in Our Man from U.N.C.L.E. is a classic KGB spy. He grew up in the system, grew up in the Soviet Union. His lifelong goal has always been to be an operative for the KGB, and now he has it, and he has risen through the ranks, and he's become their top operative. He's very by the books. He's very much a calculating, cold spy. And he's just thrust into this position that he hates, and there's nothing he can do about it. And this guy he's working with, this Napoleon Solo, he's so unorthodox. He doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't seem like he even knows there are rules. But in a way, the two end up being greater than the sum of their parts. They end up being a good team, despite of all their differences.
Did you deactivate the alarm?
Model 7010 doesn't have an alarm.
Loving your work, cowboy.
This film tells the story of how it suddenly becomes necessary for a CIA agent to work in conjunction with a KGB agent because the matter in hand is so grave and urgent to the well-being and safety of the world.
For a special agent, you're not having a very special day, are you?
Waverley, he's the head of British Naval Intelligence, and he ends up being in charge of these two hero spies, Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin. In a way, this film's a sort of prequel to the TV series in that we see how that whole Man from U.N.C.L.E. group came about.
It doesn't have to match.
Have you seen the price of this handbag? It costs more than my car.
I've had such a fun time with this film. It's really been me and the boys. Elizabeth has a big part, but we've only had 2 scenes together so far. But no, we've been on a big journey and a long one. And they're just the most relaxed and cool, and they're such good actors. And it's been the biggest pleasure working with them.
Still no drink?
Don't you make me put you over my knee.
So you don't want to dance, but you do want to wrestle.
No, I did not say that.
I suppose it was the inception of the spy movie, really, that was the 60s, where it established a genre. And I suppose for anyone who was around at that time, they were influenced by the establishment of that genre. And they had a certain style to them, which we were interested in harking back to the sort of genesis of spy movies, what we were most impressed by when we were kids.
What are you doing?
I've been here before. And last time I fell rather badly and hurt my head.
What's really fantastic about this is the characters. And they're really unique. They exist within the realm of the stereotype that they are a spy or a villain, but they're like you've never seen them before, and that they're very modern as well. And I think that audiences will respond to seeing something they've known from another era remade for now. And I think that's really exciting.
Man, that movie looks so damn cool. Can't wait to see it. You'll see our review on Friday.
And coming up next, we review the new TV show based on the reality TV shows like The Bachelor. It's called Unreal after this.
Just get your woof woof to lose it to the big guy.
Yeah, but she hasn't even admitted that she's a virgin yet, so...
Well, then get her to.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now. Ubisoft can always get my attention if they put out a new driver game. This one, you drive boats. It's called Speedboat Paradise. It's available on the App Store. It's a free-to-play game, so it has in-app purchases up the wazoo, and it's crazy. It's absolutely silly and ridiculous because you're driving these cool-looking speedboats around on very reflective water that makes you bob up and down. All that stuff is kind of cool, but the boats do all of these crazy stunts that just don't make any physical sense whatsoever. It's like they tried to kludge together some of that old wave race magic in these long sort of cigarette boats, you know, that stuff that you would see in Miami Vice. Speaking of which, Miami and the surrounding areas in the southern United States play a big part in the story. Yeah, there's a story involved in this game. You actually meet up with characters like Chris and Tanner, who I would like to be my friend, but everybody's so cool and so badass. And this is just so silly. It seems so out of touch and out of time. And the idea of doing these crazy flips and stunts and backflips in these big giant boats makes no sense whatsoever. And of course, you can buy all of these extended turbos and things like that, which makes the racing in this game cheap and ridiculous because the AI opponents that you're going to face have all of the gadgets that they could ever want to win all the races. As pretty as it looks, this is a waste of your time. Don't spend any money on this thing, and it really does not live up to the driver name. I'm going to give Driver Speedboat Paradise a 4 out of 10.
Another great pocket, Vic. Congratulations. Your hot streak continues.
Good job, Victor Lucas. I have a secret about Scott C. Jones.
What now?
He's always dreamed about being the Bachelor.
Oh, yeah, I did, but only on a show where gamers are the women I get to pick from.
Oh, I didn't know it was that specific. Yeah. Okay, well, we have a new show. It's on Lifetime. It's called Unreal, and of course, being Bachelor fans, we had to watch.
This is all fake. It's Anna and Grace, it's just fiction. And with you and me, you know we have something real.
Marissa Roberto is a huge fan of EP Daily. She's also a huge fan of The Bachelor.
No. You're not starting it that way. We're reviewing a show called Unreal.
Bachelor.
Which is not The Bachelor, but they do pretend like it is Bachelor-esque. I don't like the show The Bachelor. Do I watch it? Yeah,
it's romance. What's there not to like?
No, because I find it somewhat addicting, and I like the show Unreal is actually showing us the manipulation that is behind all of these interviews. And I know that this is a drama, I know that it's scripted, and I know that it's not supposed to be really what it's like, but it is produced by one of the ladies that used to work on The Bachelor.
Everybody here might be blind as a bat, but I have eyes. Do you hear me? I can see you.
The whole show is centered around a character, I don't know what her name is. She's played by Shiri Appleby.
Her name is Rachel Goldberg.
Rachel Goldberg on the show, and she's sort of, I don't know how TV sets work, but she's the runner or something.
The producer.
She's trying to go between the woman who actually is the executive producer of the show, played by an actor named Constance Zimmer, who you may recognize from Entourage and other little bit parts on television and movies over the years. And Constance Zimmer's character is very pushy, she's very aggressive, she needs to make some TV, so she's trying to push all of the buttons on these contestants to try to get them to have emotional outbursts and fights. And we all know that this stuff happens to make these things. I don't think anybody really believes that these reality shows feature very much reality ultimately.
Some people do believe that.
Well, I feel sorry for those people, but this is the first show that really tries to articulate what some of that button pushing looks like. Now, I guess the question here, from a critical standpoint, is how much of this did I really need to know? Because it's kind of like they're filling in a blank that I have kind of filled in for myself over the years while watching these shows. I didn't think any of it was real. I'm not surprised that they encourage these fights to happen or these sexual escapades to happen. It does feel like lurid TV, but it's an answer to a question that I don't think too many people really had.
I think the acting is solid here. I think it's
good. I really like Shiri Appleby. I really like her. She's got a nice face. She's got brown eyes. She seems like she has a lot of soul. If she's single, I hope she calls me.
I do find that her character is quite compelling. She's got a lot going on with herself, not only with the job that she has, because it's really tearing her down, but she's very good at her job. So basically, even though she started this drama with what she did because she walked onto set, she still made the show gold, like one of the highest rated episodes in the history of this show, this Bachelor type show.
It's tricky, the job that she does, because you do feel for her and you do feel sympathy for her, and you also kind of admire her at the same time while she's making these terrible things happen, making these contestants do these terrible things. There's something really watchable here. It's watching that character sort of somehow be able to pull off that duality.
Just get your woof woof to lose it to the big guy.
Yeah, but she hasn't even admitted that she's a virgin yet, so.
Well, then get her to.
It's one of these shows where I kind of feel bad for myself after it's over. I'm like, why did I watch that? Why did I feel like I needed to watch that? Oh, it's for my job. But still, did you need to watch as many episodes as you did? But it has that same kind of addictive quality quality
Definitely.
that The Bachelor has, as you know, because you're a huge fan.
I'm not a huge fan, but I understand the addiction. I'm not, stop. But I understand the addiction of a show like The Bachelor, and this show has the same type of addiction. So I think that it's
Would
one.
you keep watching,
It's
Beth?
one for that reason. I am going to keep watching because guess what? I'm addicted. Surprise, surprise. What are you scoring on Rhea?
This is pretty interesting, but not interesting enough to recommend over the top. It's a 6 out of 10 for me. You?
Oh, 7.5 for me. Guess what? Marissa Roberto still watching. Scott C. Jones still watching.
All right, I'm still watching. So what? You don't know me.
Yes, I do.
Coming up next, Jose Sanchez finds out the latest on a video game called Wasteland 2 after these messages.
Welcome back to EP Daily. If you're a Wasteland 2 fan, that must mean that you've been playing it on the PC. Well, guess what, console owners? It is now your chance to play the game, but let's find out more about it with Jose.
We were talking about a project that took oh so long to come out, that a lot of people were clamoring for. Now it is here, Wasteland 2. First off, tell me about the process of that lull between Wasteland 1 and 2 and what it finally took to make this game come out.
Well, I think most of your audience probably wasn't even born when I did the first one. It was all the way back in 1988. Did the first game, and then I wanted to do a sequel right away, but I didn't have the rights, so we did Fallout at Interplay instead. Released that, and then I left Interplay, started a new company, and of course Fallout was no longer mine, so I wanted to get the rights to Wasteland back, and so back in early 2000s, I finally got the trademark back to Wasteland, all the way back waiting from 1988. Then I thought, okay, I'm gonna go get this thing financed the traditional ways, went out pitching the different publishers. I go another 10 years, nothing. And then finally, after I had pretty much given up hope, I turned to Kickstarter. I went to my audience directly and said, hey, you want a Wasteland 2? This is our one last chance. And they came through. Now Wasteland 2 is real.
That's all it takes, people. Just put your money where your mouth is and you will get what you ask for.
Yeah, and 20 years.
So for those who might not be familiar with Wasteland, give us a little bit of background about what exactly the game is and what you plan on delivering with Wasteland 2.
Going back to the beginning, I mean, it's a post-apocalyptic role-playing game, and it's very open world. You can walk around. There's a great choice and consequence for what you do. It's morally ambiguous. We don't dictate the way you behave in the world. We just make it react accordingly. And Wasteland 2 is a huge product. It's 80 to 100 hours to complete, super highly replayable. I mean, we make whole chunks of the game that if you play it one time through, it's impossible for you to see by virtue of the fact that we give you all these different choices, and you go down one path, you're therefore turning off the others. But you know in your mind that you're missing out these great experiences, and it really makes the world seem deep, which it is. And so I think that's the thing that people love about this. And so now we're showing it on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, bringing it over to console, which we're excited about.
Now, is that much of a extra work for you for bringing it from PC over to the consoles?
Yes, it was a lot of work bringing it over because we had to do the UI from scratch as if it was a brand new title. And so even though we had the code base to go from, you've really got to approach it. PlayStation or Xbox owner, they don't care that there was a code base before. What they want is experience that's perfect for them. And we know that. So we look at all the work that came before us. We look at what they've done with XCOM or Diablo from a UI perspective. And we make sure it works smoothly and we streamline the whole inventory interface. And we've done that. And it's a really deep game. I think console owners are going to love it because they're just not used to having a game that is this deep. I mean, it's really kind of spectacular. And so in addition to that, we did like 40,000 more lines of dialogue. We put a whole quirks and perks system in. We did an overhaul on the graphics, on the character creation mode. So we did a lot of work. It's not a quick and simple port.
For fans of the original, are you guys going to be making any nods to the Wasteland 1 and Wasteland 2, or is this going to be its completely own experience?
No, there's so many nods. You know, if you played the first Wasteland 1, we have so many funny callbacks that if you didn't play it, no big deal. But if you did, like there was a big scene in the first Wasteland where you get attacked by a rabid dog and you kill it, and then later this little boy goes, "Have you seen my dog?" Right? And you realize that you've killed this kid's dog, and then it turns out to like an all-out war between you and a bunch of kids because you killed this kid's dog, and you didn't really, you know. And it's 20 years later in the fiction in Wasteland 2, you go to the place and you're Desert Rangers, the dog killers, right? And they remember that from back then. In fact, and then you run into a dog and you're thinking, I don't want to be near this dog because if things go down, they're going to think I'm like the scum of the earth, right? So that's like a great tie back between the two worlds. And again, if you hadn't played the first one, you're like, what, I'm a dog killer? How'd that come from? So it's funny stuff.
Thanks a lot, Jose. Jose, love your interviews, buddy. Don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got your Twitter question of the day.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It's time for our Twitter question of the day. This one is from God for Mayor. For the Greatest American Hero reboot, which I understand is still coming, I'd cast Danny Pudi and Joel McHale. Your picks?
I think those are good picks.
Yeah.
I'm going to support this character who calls himself God for Mayor. I don't believe that's his real name. But do you want to see a Greatest American Hero reboot?
I loved that show when I was growing up.
I did too. I like the guy who was the star of the show. He had. Do you ever have curly hair like that?
Never had curly hair like that. It was
I remember you with
magnificent.
curly hair.
Magnificent curly hair.
I can see it.
Robert Culp was in that, and that was a really
Such a fun show. And it was a superhero, but he was also just a regular guy looking for love, trying to hold down a job, but a superhero too.
Which I don't think Joel McHale's really cut out for, because he kind of looks like a superhero. Now, if they cast Danny Pudi as the Greatest American Hero, that would be pretty cool.
How about this? You cast Victor Lucas as Greatest American Hero. Problem solved.
Can't argue with that. All right, listen, if you've got a question for us or you want to follow up with some casting suggestions, hit up our website at epn.tv. You can also watch full episodes there.
And listen, coming up in the next episode of EP Daily, we're going to have a closer look at Lego Dimensions. You're not going to want to miss this one. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox,
Batman, Gandalf, Wildstyle. Those characters, they don't sound like they should mix together. How are you guys going to bring them together in a world where that kind of makes sense?
They're the heroes that lead us on this journey, this story, but we got a whole lot more characters in this cast. And you can bring any of the characters from our collection into any of the levels you want to. So what brings them together is that these mysterious rifts have been appearing all over the place, and bad things have been happening in all the different Lego multiverses that are out there.
And now I've done it!